Elden Ring is a timeless game and one of my personal favorites of all time. It has 411 unique weapons, and we are on a mission to make a weapon encyclopedia beats in the game with every single one of them. Today's weapon is the SmithScript hammer, and a unique weapon it is, with features that let us use the melee weapon as a ranged weapon using 0 FP by charging a heavy attack, going into a mission and throwing it. We're going to take a look as we play the game from start to finish, beating it on how the SmithScript hammer fastens up against the rest of the weapons in the game. The SmithScript hammer, is it going to be better with one hand? Are we going to be better off with two of them? What stats should we upgrade to maximize the effectiveness of this weapon, and in what order? What's the best starting class? How does this weapon perform against the 14 bosses that are required to beat the base game of Elden Ring? That's what we're going to be answering today. The SmithScript hammer, how does it perform in Elden Ring? How do you become the Elden Lord with it? Requested by a good old friend, James, of the Adams Variety. So sit back, relax, and without further ado, this is the best starting class if you're doing a run with the SmithScript hammer. The best starting class for the SmithScript hammer is the Vagabond class, because once you select the Vagabond class, you only need to level up your character 4 times before you have the runes required to use this weapon if you two-hand it. Now, the requirements for the SmithScript hammer are as follows. We need 20 strength to wield it. We need a total of 11 intelligence, a total of 11 faith, and a total of 13 dexterity, right? So the Vagabond class, it brings us in at rune level 9 with 15 points to health, 10 points to mind, 11 points for your endurance, 14 points to strength, 13 points to dexterity, 9 intelligence, 9 faith, and 7 arcanine. So what you want to do is go ahead and upgrade your faith and intelligence from 9 to 11. Those are those 4 required levels, and we're ready to wield the SmithScript hammer right away if we two-hand it. I know what you're saying. Chef, what do you mean? You just said it takes 20 strength to have it. We only have 14. We have good news in Elden Ring. If you two-hand a weapon, whatever half of your strength class is, so in this case we start with 14, half of 14 is 7. You take the half, so in this case 7, you add it to your current level, which in this case is 14. 14 plus 7 equals 21 strength. 21 is greater than or equal to 20. So as long as we two-hand it, we only need those 4 levels. Those 4 levels being 2 to faith, 2 to intelligence, in order to wield the SmithScript hammer with 2 hands. So when leveling this class, the first thing that you want to do, obviously, is get those 2 levels to faith, get those 2 levels to intelligence, and that way we can two-hand the weapon. Now, next up, you actually want to go ahead and get your strength to 20, so you have the option of wielding 1 in each hand. It's not going to hurt you even if you want to do two-handed the entire run, because this weapon's main scaling is strength. So again, faith, intelligence to 11, get your strength up to 20, and next you want to get your vigor up to 30 for that early game survivability, your endurance to 15 if you're running armorless, or at least 20 if you're using some kind of light, medium armor. After that, again, focus on getting that vigor up to now 50, that's 50 for the late game survivability, and whatever points you have after that, go ahead, dump it, pour it in the strength, because again, that is how this weapon is going to do the majority of the damage. So without further ado, let's get into the build, and we got a couple options for you for today. The SmithScript hammer is unique in that if you sprint or do a heavy attack, your character will start swinging the weapon around, release it, and fling it at an enemy. So because of this, we first decided to try to build a build around the unique features of this weapon. And while it didn't work out, if you did want to try it out for a run, throwing the hammer, the SmithScript hammer, this is what I would recommend to help you to maximize the damage. Now, we did do this build at the start of the run, but by the time we got to the dramatic 3 Sentinel, it just wasn't cutting it with the damage. But if you do want to try it, this is what I would do. I would put the heavy Ash of War, something with a way to buff it, like the Barbaric Roar, and put a heavy affinity on it to maximize its scaling with strength. And then I would use the two-handed talisman, which is going to increase all damage whenever we're two-handing a weapon, which we two-hand the smithing sword. Next up, I would equip the smithing talisman, which is going to further enhance the weapon throwing damage. And thirdly, I would equip the axe talisman, which for heavy attacks, including our throwing hammer attack, will increase it 10%. And the psychic flask, I put the stamina recovery and the tier to charge charge attacks even farther to stack with that Axe Talisman. And the last one, I would just run something for weapon absorption, damage absorption, like the Draconic Great Shield, to help us with physical attacks. Now, the reason we didn't end up running this is because even with all that setup, your character, after we chose the hammer, it's still not going to do too much damage. And right when we're done, trying to move, there's almost a 2-second window where you're animation locked, and we were getting heavily punished even in the early game bosses. So this is what we ended up moving the build to after the bit. And this is the build that we use from the Dramatic Tree Sentinel on that really carried us through the game, because it turns out when it comes to the weapon class, the Great Hammer, even if the weapon itself is outclassed by other Great Hammers, regular hammers, great swords, colossal weapons, as long as you've got 2 of them, you can make a pretty good jump attack build that'll help you get some damage. So what we ended up doing is we added a second SmithScript hammer, 1 in each hand. We put on the armor that'll increase our jump attack called the Raptor's Black Feather, and we stacked that with the Claw Talisman. So now every time we do a jumping attack, it's going to do 2 attacks, 1 with each hammer, and we're going to get a 10% buff from the Raptor's Black Feathers and a 15% buff from the Claw Talisman. And whenever we're at full health from the Ritual Sword Talisman, we'll get an additional 10% off of that. So that means with both of our attacks, 1 in each hand, right? We're going to get not exactly a scientist, so run the numbers here. 10% plus 10% is 20, plus 15, a 35% buff to our jump attacks. Now, the disadvantage of the jump attacks with the Great Hammer weapon class is it uses a lot of stamina. So we went with the 2-headed Turtle Talisman. You can also use the first variant if you don't have the DLC to help with stamina recovery. We stacked that with the Green Burst Crystal Tier. For our other Crystal Tier, we use the Opioid Hard Tier to help us out with damage negation, and that does stack with the Dragon Crest Great Shield. So when you put that all together, even when they're unupgraded, like at the start of this one, we can just take a quick look and just see just the damage that we're able to get off. Even with fully unupgraded weapons, the mobility, the damage, so he hits us with the blood loss, we're able to just keep whacking away and finish off anything even with unupgraded weapons. So even if the weapon is bad, like the SmithScript hammers are bad as they're designed to, you can follow this guide to really get a good dual weapon bulk build, and that's what carries through the Dramatic Tree Sentinel to the end of the game with this weapon. Since you can technically upgrade your SmithScript hammers to plus 12 for this fight, the Morgott fight's really not too hard. We started using the 1 SmithScript hammer before eventually switching to the build we recommend by boss 5. So throughout this video, I'll guide you to how to set the build that we eventually use for the majority of the game, bosses 5 to 14. Now for Morgott, we only have the 1 slot talisman that's available. So I just recommend grabbing the green turtle talisman before the fight. We ended up upgrading the hammer to plus 6, and we beat him on our second attempt using this build. The fight's not going to be too difficult even for new players. You should expect a pretty easy W. Difficulty with the SmithScript hammer, 2 out of 10. After Margit, you get your second talisman slot, and what I would recommend is on your way to Godrick, go ahead, get the Claw Talisman and equip that alongside of your green turtle talisman. That's going to increase our jump damage. So we didn't further upgrade our SmithScript hammer, we kept it at plus 6, and with those 2 talismans, look, we first tried Godrick. He's the easiest of the demigods. It's very well corrected about that. So difficulty of the SmithScript hammer, it's only a 1 on 10. The Claw Talisman helps you with even more jump damage here if you use it instead of the throwing one that we used here. Easy fights, 1 on 10 difficulty rating. Enjoy your dub, and let's keep heading towards the Academy for the next boss fights. Now, the Red Wolf ended up being the second hardest fight in the entire run, strictly due to how mobile it was. So, at this point, as you can see in the footage, we were still trying to find a way to make the build work by throwing the hammer instead of the jump attacks that we switched to later. The thing is, with this boss, he's so mobile that even when you throw the hammer, a lot of times he would just end up skillfully dodging it, evading it, and then punishing you with magic attacks. So we were really having a whale of a time with it. We did end up first trying this boss, but as you can see in the footage, it really took a lot of dodges. It took a lot of positioning, a lot of missed attacks, and because of that, I think new players would have a really tough time, managing this boss with throwing the SmithScript hammers. Definitely one that would be a lot better as we switch to the jump build, but difficulty-wise, on a scale of 1 to 10 with the SmithScript hammers, it ended up being, like I said, second hardest fight in the run, 8 on 10 difficulty. At this point, we knew that the hammer throws were simply not going to cut it damage-wise. I had an attempt here before this, trying to throw the hammer at the main queen, and she was just in phase 2, running away, spamming magic. So we knew that by the time we spun around and threw the hammer, that the moon queen Rennala would be able to escape and start hitting with those magic attacks. So the first thing that we came up with is, hey, let's try to do something to stun lock her in second phase, because her poise is not super high, and in phase 1 she literally just lays down and takes it. So what you can see that we did was we put the Ash of War Wild Strikes on there, we put the Blood Affinity on there, and that let us get a really lot of attacks off during phase 1 when she was down and vulnerable. But in phase 2, as you'll see, we weren't able to really stun lock her like we hoped to. She would take 1 or 2 Wild Strikes, flee, and spam magic. At this point in the run, we were still in the search of a build that would carry us, and after this boss, we headed to the Atlas Plateau to find that build. This fight with the build that we did it with, the SmithScript hammer, definitely not too bad with the Wild Strikes. You just have to play it really patient, and if you do that, the difficulty with the SmithScript hammer is a 2 on 10. This was by far the hardest fight of the run, and where we ended up completely changing our build to one that would stick until we became the Elden Lord. The dramatic tree Sentinel can follow up with attacks that are so quick, the downward slam, that the hammer throws are simply out of the question due to the recovery animation. It's a mobile boss, so it hits, it runs away on the horse, and because it's so fast and can't get stun locked or Rennala, the Wild Strike build that we used on her was also out. So we ended up trying a few different things, and what we settled on in the end is dual wielding the SmithScript hammer, like we saw in the build portion at the start of the video, with 1 in each hand, jump armor. We went and got the claw talisman using a single dual jump attack. We were really taking heaps of health out of the boss every single time. Additionally, with this strat, you can see a quick stagger. Although it took a while, we executed the strategy well. But figuring it out was a doozy. Difficulty of this fight with the SmithScript hammer was tough, a full 10 on 10 difficulty. The Ghost of Godfrey is a very fast, very mobile boss that's programmed to punish heals if you try to use them. So you want to keep your talisman set up as is in the Atlas Plateau. Unlocking that third talisman, we ended up using the Claw Talisman, we ended up using the Terror Talisman, and in the Atlas Plateau, you can get the Ritual Sword Talisman that we saw in the bid screen at the end. So what you want to do when fighting this boss is stay on his left hip. It's right as you're looking at him, and you're going to bait up that attack that we just saw, that left-right sweep. Stay for half a second, see if he follows up with a third one, and then punish him with a jump attack with your dual hammers. Right after that jump attack, you'll see we roll forward to avoid being punished. We'll roll the follow-up and then get that easy jump attack. You'll see those chunks of health getting consistently taken out. If you find yourself in a corner like there, go ahead, back up. Fight to nice and patient, stare to the corners. And eventually you'll be able to get the easy W, just playing it patiently, just like that. So as long as you use this jump build with the SmithScript hammers, it's not going to be too much of a difficult fight. Average difficulty, be patient, stay out of the corners, punish on the sequence that we mentioned and that you see in the video below. Difficulty on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 5 with the SmithScript hammers against the Ghost of Godfrey. Now, Morgott is another boss similar to the dramatic tree Sentinel. He's got a couple of pre-programmed sort of punish windows at various parts of the fight. So the first one is typically when he drops his holy sword. What you want to do, play aggressive. If you do, you can get in 2 to 4 of these weapon jumps that we're doing here, the dual weapon jumps. Now, that is typically enough to get into his second phase where he'll kneel down and starts coughing. That is another window where you can spam some jump attacks. You can get at least 3, sometimes even 4 if it clears enough when he starts it. Now, I know that during that transition, when he's on his knees and coughing, it's not going to do a bunch of damage, but that's not really what we're going for. During that second punish window, when he's on the ground coughing, whenever you hit him, you can still build up his stagger. That's going to allow us to, once he finishes his coughing animation, almost get an immediate stagger on him and be able to finish off the fight or be very close to finishing off the fight. That's the key. Be patient. Get your consistent punish windows. Just time it out so you can stagger him once he enters phase 2, and you're going to make short work of this fight. Difficulty with the SmithScript hammer using these tips is a 3 on 10 difficulty. For the fire giant, what you want to do when the fight starts is charge him on horseback. As he starts the animation where he's shoveling snow towards you, like you see here, as soon as you see it, hop off, dodge through the snow once the snow appears on the screen, and then pop your psychic flask in order to really maximize it for the fight. Now, when you land, you're going to want to focus on using those dual jump attacks on his left leg. That'll be your right leg as you're looking at it. So do those dual jump attacks. You really are just spamming him here, and you'll get him to the animation where he's grabbing at his leg, keep whacking at it, and he'll roll away from you. Hop on horseback, charge him back down, and stay on that left Achilles there until he gets to around half health. Once he does get to around half health, you're going to activate that cutscene, for phase 2. So when phase 2 starts, you're going to watch the cutscene. He's going to rip off his leg and the rest of it. But the key part is his first movement as the fight starts. What you're going to do, and patience is key in this, is you're going to wait. He's going to put his hands down right when phase 2 starts, and you're going to be able to spam a few of these dual jump attacks, build up stagger right from the start of the fight. And then from there, you just want to be patient, charge him down as he rolls away, ride in between his legs, pause, get behind him, and then whack at that injured leg, staying in a safe place, and just rinse and repeat until the boss goes down. The difficulty, if you use this strategy with the SmithScript hammer, one of the more average fights in the run, 5 on 10 difficulty against the fire giant with the SmithScript hammer. A lot of people will tell you to spam sleep potions for this fight to create one-on-ones, but if you want the satisfaction of beating them honorably, or if you're like me and you're too lazy to craft potions, this footage should give you an idea of how to do it. So the key to this fight is once you hit either Godskin one time per respawn, so when they respawn, they'll have full health, so one time per respawn, that Godskin is then going to pursue you much more aggressively until his health bar goes down and he respawns back in. So for this reason, I recommend on fighting one Godskin at a time so you don't have 2 of these bosses just rearing down on you the entire fight. And because of the 2, the round one is a bit more aggressive in general, I recommend that we start with him. So it's going to take about 3 dual jump attacks to proc a stagger, and you can then insta-punish that stagger with a critical strike. If you time it all correctly, you can actually dual jump him again as he's standing up after you hit him with the critical strike. And at that point, he's actually going to start transitioning to his phase 2. And that animation will actually let you get in 2 more dual jump attacks. And oftentimes, you can just stagger him out of the animation right away from there. So however you want to do it, if you could pull off the timing or if you miss it slightly like we did in the winning attempt, just be patient, wait for those windows. As you see here, we're going to dodge forward through them and then get those heavy attacks in those safe windows. Rinse and repeat when you have the one-on-one with the skinny one. Go ahead, do the dual jump attacks on him. And then when he reaches for his bell, that's when we're really going to spam him in those free windows. Make sure we stagger him in his position to phase 2. And once one of them goes down, the key to this fight is just making sure that we keep it in a one-on-one fight. So it's a tough fight to script. It's always a doozy, is the Godskin Duo. So that being said, even with a good strategy to have, it's still a tough fight. Difficulty with the SmithScript hammer is going to be a 5 on 10 if you use the build and follow the scripting. Malkeith is always a tough boss in every run. His first phase is challenging for new players to get down, and his second phase is tough no matter what. Since our dual SmithScript hammers rely on getting in those dual jump attacks to safely build stagger, let's focus on identifying punish windows over in phase 1. So in phase 1, when he does his left to right chain attack, followed by a third, an optional fourth, and then always there final grand slam, there's a punish window for 2 free dual jump attacks after he slams the ground. Another window that we want to look for is when he puts his knife in the ground and sort of twists towards you. Right after he twists, you want to dodge forward into him and punish that with 2 dual jump windows. And there's a third one where he's going to slam into the ground and start grabbing pieces of the ground and throwing them into the air all around him. When he's doing that animation, you can actually hit him with 2, sometimes 3 jump attacks, and then get the heck out of there before those pieces of the ground fall on you. Now, if you do that and you stick to those windows, you're going to have a pretty easy time getting over to phase 2. And when phase 2 starts, you're going to do exactly what we did. Bring your character. You'll see it right when the fight starts, 3 steps to the right, 2 steps back, and that's going to trigger him to always do his horizontal slash followed by a vertical slash. And then as you see, we can take full advantage of the punish, get in another jump attack, a second, and now he's just got a ton of health. From there on out in the fights, just be patient. Dodge when he's zipping all around the map. Don't try to focus on punishing him. Wait for him to eventually get towards trying to do his swipes where he is fighting you like a regular person where he does his horizontal strike and the follow-up. Wait for those punish windows, and you'll make short work of Malkeith and be on to the Ashen Capital. Gideon was one of the easier fights in the run. While he's sitting there yapping, speaking Japanese to you, go ahead, hit him with a dual jump attack, once or sometimes twice if he kind of stays there for a second, which he was able to in this one. And then he's just going to roll away from you, slowly walk towards him, keep spamming those jump attacks. If you find yourself in a window where you don't have a clear shot, you can bait out some of his windows with a bit safer jump animations, like when he does his Kamehameha, Hyper Beam, whatever you want to call it, attack. But really, stay on his ASS double hockey ticks, spam those jump attacks. You're going to make short work out of Gideon here. He's an easy dub. Difficulty with the SmithScript hammers, only a 1 out of 10. Fight phase 1 of the Godfrey fight is the exact same as the ghost of the Godfrey fight. Again, that's jumping over the rocks as he brings a stomp attack. So you're going to kind of jump towards him, right over the rocks, and that's going to give you a free dual jump attack. And then after that, you're going to immediately dodge into him to avoid his instant punish with the downward axe strike. Sometimes you can sneak in an immediate dual jump attack. Regardless, we're going to stay on his left hip right as you're looking at him, and you're going to get that quick 1-2 followed by an optional turn before he jumps away from you, and you can repeat the process. Now, once phase 2 starts, he will charge you and attempt to grab. Easily dodge through it, and you can punish with the free at least 2, sometimes as much as 3 dual jump attacks depending on his follow. If you time it correctly, you're going to stagger a proc, or proc a stagger would be a better way to say it. That's going to allow you to go ahead and get an immediate critical strike, and you'll trigger a punish window where Godfrey, he'll simply drop to his knees. He'll drop to his knees. He'll start slamming the ground out in front of you like a pathetic little weasel. And when he does that, you can hit him for another couple jump attacks, roll through that first slam, and then you can actually punish the second slam after he does it there. So you see him rising up, punish. We played it a bit safe, dodge through it. Here's a second. Now we go ahead, jump on his head. That's that punish window. And you can end the fight, or I miss in the fight like we did right here. And then it's just, there was one, finish him off. Godfrey done, W miss, and get him out of there. And let's go become the Elden Lord. But not before aura farming on him, of course, a little bit. Legend failed. Difficulty of the Godfrey fights with the SmithScript hammers. Simply a 5 on 10. Let's finish this. Pop your flask right before you enter the arena and skip to the cutscene and charge Radagon right when the fight starts. And you'll see you'll be able to get a free 2, sometimes 3 jump attacks, depending on his follow-up animation to really get the party started. If you don't get him quite down to 75% health, wait for a safe window, and you'll trigger an animation where he will slowly stomp the ground before rising up and slamming the ground with both of his hammers, unless you stagger him out of his animation like we did there. From there, he'll go into his triple grand slam, dodge. On the third one, it takes him a bit longer. Go punish that before dodging that third slam, or letting it tactfully hit you. When he's stuck in his animation lock, finish him off and get ready for the Elden Beast. At the start of the Elden Beast fight, you want to sprint behind him and start wailing those dual jump attacks on his tail as he blaze fire and builds up, quite a lot of damage you can beat up on him, but definitely quite a lot of stagger, and that's the main key to this fight. Start breaking the Elden Beast, as you'll soon see. If you do it correctly, like we did here, you'll see that he'll run away from you and start his ring around the rosy attack. As soon as he starts that, turn straight behind you and run straight ahead. Jump the ring, keep running, and the Elden Beast, he's going to appear right in front of you. Keep spamming those dual jump attacks like we did. If he happens to do a quick attack there, no worries. Get behind him. Let the spam begin because he is close to staggering, and we should see a stagger here pretty soon. If not, when he runs away right here, right on the punish attack. Once those hits keep going down, you see that stagger there pop off. And from there, we can get a couple hits in there before actually critical striking the Elden Beast. Hitting him down. And gets in him the FLOCK double hockey sticks out of our land between. Radagon difficulty, if you script it the way we did, is a 5-on-10, and the Elden Beast ends up being one of the easiest fights on the run. 2-on-10 difficulty with those SmithScript hammers. The average difficulty rating on a scale of 1 to 10 for the 14 mandatory bosses required to beat Elden Ring ends up being a 4.36 out of 10, making the SmithScript hammer actually a pretty surprisingly good weapon to play through the game, if and only if you do not play the SmithScript hammer as intended. If you try to get to the game throwing the hammer like we showed you as an option for the first build, you're gonna have a bad time. However, if you use the build how we used in this run, you put one in each hand, you increase your jump attacks, you stay at full health, you're going to be able to stagger a lot of the enemies, critical strike them, and you're going to have a pretty decent time getting through it. Now, that being said, there are lots of weapons that you can dual wield and spam jump attacks in this game. Almost all of those weapons do it better than the SmithScript hammer. So because of that reason, we're going to put the SmithScript hammer as our first weapon in the tier below average. If it did an average job with the builds, the jump build that you're dual wielding, we would put it in C, above average A, but almost every single other weapon type does it better than the SmithScript hammer. If you disagree, let me know in the comments section below. I always like hearing from you. My name is Chef Swole. We are live streaming beating Elden Ring with every single weapon. This is number 2 of 411. So if you have a weapon that you want to see next, let me know in the comments below. And if we pick your weapon, we'll shout you out in the next YouTube video. This one was recommended by my friend James of the Adams Variety. So how do you think that the SmithScript hammer plays? Did I miss something in trying to play it how From Software designed? Maybe there should have been some other talismans that we had tried with the first build that I showed at the beginning of the video. Where would you personally rank it on the tier list? Did we get it wrong? Should it be above average, or is it just straight to garbage, broken straight to a tier? Let me know in the comments below. I always love hearing from you. And until next time, fellow Tarnished, stay maidenless. Rah!